Being real sweet to me now. I better get him a beer.
Men die. Oil companies don't.
Played a few businessmen in your life.
Played some Titans.
Yeah, Don Draper, Paul Marks. Why do you think that these are such interesting roles to play?
Well, I think because when you look at them from kind of the long view, you see, okay, these guys are at the top of their game, they're running the show, they're wealthy, they're powerful, all of those things that are apparent, again, from the 1,000 miles away. But then once you start getting closer and closer and closer and more granular and more deeper into them, you realize they have the same wants and needs and foibles and all of the things that make us human. And it's important to understand that humanity exists in all of us. That, I think, lets people go, okay, I understand why you did that, I understand why you made that mistake, and I understand why you're trying to do better the next time.
Your children are going to inherit an oil fortune, but your grandchildren won't. The party's not ending tomorrow, but it is ending.
You know, a lot of it starts on the page and the way that Taylor wrote her and how bold and fearless she is and how comfortable she is with her body and her sexuality and how she sees the world. She's unapologetic in every way. And so that's very, very, very fun to play because I am not like that. So it was great to be able to kind of step into her shoes and, you know, figure out how I can find that confidence within myself so that I could really have fun with her. And that was a big part of it for me, is that, like, she is always looking for a good time and is never worried about the consequences.
I just came up with something. She's the country club Vivian Lee.
Oh, babe. He's being real sweet to me now. I better get him a beer.
It's such a mystery to me why our marriage didn't work out.
Oh, you like that?
No, I don't like that.
See you and Demi Moore, huge power couple in this series. How was it working with her?
Tremendous. You know, she's having what I would consider a very well-earned renaissance this year with the Substance and with her work in The Swans. And now this, you know, she's a force of nature, and she's a tremendously intelligent, giving, expressive actor and person. And it was an absolute joy to play half of a couple where both sides are equally invested in each other. They both complete each other's orbit, and I was saying to her one day, I said, I think you're the first person that I've ever been cast opposite as a husband and wife where we play a couple that actually loves each other and are happy with each other. And that was a very nice thing to, having just gotten married myself, that was a nice kind of thing to portray on screen. But I really like her, you know, she's been doing this a long time, and I think she said 40 some odd years earlier today. And that's impressive, that to be able to stay relevant, to be able to stay happy, to be able to stay focused and really into what you do. And it's if anything, I learned that this career, if you do it right, can be a long run. I've got almost 30 years under my belt, but it's pretty cool to see somebody that has had, you know, kind of the career as a young starlet and then into the superstar mode, and now is in playing more character roles and has had success in all of those phases. So there's certainly worse people to model your career after than her.
Sure. I'm guessing you've seen The Substance. You love it.
I haven't seen it yet, but she was showing me production stills and everything while we were shooting it before it even came out, and I was like, this movie looks bananas. I can't wait to see it, so I cannot wait to see it.
You're still a betting man. Now go and make a bet.
So obviously Landman set in Texas, filmed in Texas. There's a few snake scenes. Were there any snake encounters on set?
Yeah, there's snakes there. There's a lot of wildlife in that part of the country, but it's a lovely town. Fort Worth is a very wealthy town, but it also kind of lives in the shadow of Dallas. It's the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex, but Fort Worth is sort of the little brother in that relationship. But it has a tremendous amount to recommend, and I very much enjoyed my time there.
Let me see. Yes, there were. We did have a pretty big snake scene in there, but we had snake wranglers on the set pretty much all the time when we were out in those fields, in the oil fields, you know. And, you know, there were days when they would catch, you know, half a dozen, or some days when they only caught one or two. But they were out there, And I mean, if you get down that way, because I was raised in Arkansas and Texas, so I grew up around snakes. And you just have to be smart about that stuff. You can't just stomp off through the brush, you know, you gotta kind of, basically you have to be watching all the time. And they would come by and show us sometimes. They'd open up their little canvas bag, say, look, we got 4 today, you know, whatever, you know. And also even at your residence. Well, not yours because you're more in town, you know, more on the pavement, but I was out of a place that had a yard, so we knew to watch.
Oil and gas industry makes $3 billion a day in pure profit. And it's only getting bigger.
I've been a fan of Billy Bob's since I first saw him, I think, in Sling Blade, you know, and Billy's from Arkansas, I'm from Missouri. We've met each other on a couple social occasions here and there. We've never worked together until now. But I think he's one of the best, and I was really excited to get a chance to share the screen with him, and super excited to get to know him a little more, and I look forward to working with him again. I hope we get a chance. Maybe Lorne Malvo and Roy Tillman will meet in jail or something, and we can do that spinoff.
Hopefully season 2 of this.
Maybe, yeah, that too.
Look, I mean, he has some unbelievable monologues that really explain the reality of oil. And then you go into the dreamers and how, you know, it's really, you know, it's a gambler's game when you come into this business. And it's really hard to do that stuff. Like, it is hard to deliver those things. And he takes Taylor's writing and really, really takes you into the truth of this world. Like it or not, it's a real honest eye into it. I don't know. I mean, I think that's one of the best things in the show is some of your monologues. You chew on them, babe.
Well, you have to, like we were talking about earlier, you can't just recite lines or just memorize lines. You have to know what you're talking about. So anything that I didn't know, I would ask Taylor or Christian Wallace, who had done the podcast and worked in the oil industry. And because you have to, when you're saying something as an actor, you have to mean it and know what it means. There were a lot of things I did learn. I mean, some technical stuff. And then also just, you know, about the nature of what it's like to work out there in those fields and the kinds of people that work there. I mean, some pretty desperate people who can make $180,000 a year, and they can't take care of their families in any other way. They end up working at fast food or something. So they're willing to risk their lives to make that kind of money to take care of their families. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
You know, honestly, we got to know quite a few people in the oil and gas industry down in Fort Worth when we were shooting, and they are tremendously wealthy and tremendously powerful, but they also love their families, and they're trying to do the best for what they can in their community, in the world, and all of the things. It's a fascinating community of people, and yeah, it's nice to have some context to look at these people, because it's easy enough to just dismiss that as, oh, they're ruining the environment, and they're, oh, this, that, and the other, and it's a lot more complicated than that. Look, I hope they're entertained. You know, that's really the end of the day, what we're trying to do. We're not trying to teach a lesson. We're not trying to be didactic in any way. It's meant to be an entertaining story with people that are compelling in one way or the other. And I think when you look at Ali Larter, Billy Bob, Michael Pena, myself, Demi, you've got the makings of something that is pretty compelling. And I think it's, from what I've heard on the early buzz, people are really picking up what we were putting down, so that's exciting.